Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is OC from OC Imaging, and as you can see, I have the Sigma 28 to 105, and we're going to talk about why I chose this lens over two other options that I had.
Now, quick disclaimer, my gear reviews are not a you should buy this product type of review, but more so how the product fits into my kit and simplifies my system for wedding filmmaking.
I previously had a Sigma 28 to 70 millimeter lens and a Tamron 70 to 200 EF lens, which I adapted to my L mount camera. And I used to use this pretty consistently. However, for wedding filmmaking, a 70 to 200 for me and how I shoot was not ideal because I needed more on the wide end. So that's when I decided to start looking into a different type of lens, something that could match up with the 28 to 70 millimeter Sigma lens, but just give me a little bit more reach. So I sold my 70 to 200 Tamron lens. With what I needed, that narrowed it down to three specific options. Option one would have been the Samyang 35 to 150 millimeter f2 to 2.8 lens. This recently came out for the L mount. The pros of the Samyang were that on the longer end, it really had a pretty good reach at 150 millimeters, and at 35 millimeters, it was at an f2. However, the cons on this was that the Samyang is actually heavier than the Sigma and the other lens that I had interest in. And also, this was Samyang's first lens in the L mount or on the L mount system, and nobody was really sure how good this was or was not gonna work. The second option was the Lumix 24 to 105 f4. Now, the pros of this particular lens is that despite the price being, I think, like $1,100 on Amazon, I could actually find this used on eBay for as little as $600. And for me, that's a pretty big pro. The f4 to me was also a pro. I know a lot of people gawk at a lens being or starting at an f4, but for me and how I shoot wedding ceremonies, I'm pretty much at f4 or f5 at all times, just to make sure that everything sticks. And also, when you're at 105, you're still gonna have blurred out backgrounds, so I'm not worried about that. I just want to ensure that everything that needs to be in focus is in focus. So the f4 was actually a pro for me. The only con I had with the Lumix lens was that where it concerns Sigma lenses, and like I said, I had the 28 to 70 millimeter Sigma lens, the focus ring turns in one direction, and for the Lumix zoom lenses, the focus ring actually turns in the opposite direction. And believe it or not, that was literally the only reason I did not buy the Lumix 24 to 105 f4. Hey, seeing that I have your attention, I'm just gonna ask you to like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to get my subscriber count up and my watch hours too, so I definitely appreciate a like and a subscribe. And the eventual option that I went with, the Sigma 28 to 105, the pros of this particular lens was one, it's a Sigma lens, and I honestly love Sigma glass. The other pro is that this is like the perfect in-between of 24 and 35. It's not as wide as 24, and I really would have loved if it was 24, but at the same time, it's not as tight as a 35 millimeter lens, specifically talking about the Samyang that starts at a 35 millimeter. So for me, this was wide enough. Another pro of this lens that may not be important to some people, but it was important to me, is that I can do one twist and I move from 28 to 105. The cons of this lens, starting with the most obvious one, is that of the three lenses that I had interest in, this one was the most expensive. In addition to that, when zooming in and out, it's not parfocal. It doesn't stay focused on what was in focus at whatever range you were at. It does take a little while to get back there, but it eventually gets it back in focus. While not being as heavy as a Samyang lens, it is a little bit on the heavier side where lenses are concerned. Also, it doesn't come with a tripod stand. Like bigger, heavier lenses like these tend to come with a tripod stand. I have found one online that I am gonna purchase, so I don't have to put this on, or put the camera directly on the tripod, with most of the weight being on the front end of the camera. With the tripod mount, I would be able to put it on this and mount this to the tripod. The final con for me is that, well, this is kind of obvious. When you're using it at the 105 range and using it handheld, it does expose the slightest jitters. It makes it look so obvious on screen. So you have to be very, very careful when you're shooting at 105 on this lens and doing it handheld. Even with my Lumix that has pretty amazing in-camera stabilization, this still has those little micro jitters that they're accentuated when shooting at 105. Since purchasing this lens, I have used it to do so many things, so much more than just shooting weddings, but weddings are my primary thing. And I have to say that aside from wishing that it had a little bit more on the wide end, I can't complain for the price I purchased it for. And if you know lens prices, you know that $1,300 is not a whole lot when you want to get a really good lens. It's a sharp lens. This doesn't bother me. It bothers a lot of people, but it doesn't bother me. It's a very sharp lens. It's a very versatile lens. It's either using handheld, I'm either using this handheld or it's on a tripod, but it does exactly what I want it to do. And when it comes to purchasing lenses, you want to make sure that you don't cheap out on this. Now, I'm not saying that the Samyang is cheap, and I'm definitely not saying that the Lumix is cheap, even though you can find the Lumix for as little as $600. It's just that the Lumix is an older lens, and it's not that appealing to a lot of people because it is an f4. But as I said, for me, that would have been perfectly fine. But I am super happy with the purchase of this particular lens, and there's a reason I left home and I kept this lens and left others at home, was because this is just an everything lens. It's an amazing lens. It's, like I said, it's tack sharp, and I have zero complaints about this particular lens. Yes, it's a little on the heavier side, but when you're shooting throughout the day, it's not that big of a deal, because when you're in the zone, at least for me, I'm in the zone. I get stuck in there and I don't get out of it. So it doesn't bother me that much. And the fact that Sigma has been making L-mount glasses for Lumix for a very long time now, I have no complaints about the autofocus performance. Yes, I wish it had parfocal, or it was parfocal, but it's not, and it's just what it is. But that aside, again, it's an amazing lens, and a lot of persons have asked me if I'd sell them this lens, especially temporarily moving from Jamaica to America. But no, I can't. Like, I love this lens. It's not going anywhere, and if the option arises, I would definitely purchase this lens once more, or a second version of this lens. Earlier in the video, I said I had a Sigma 28 to 70 millimeter lens, and I sold that just before leaving Jamaica. And what I am gonna do is purchase the Sigma 24 to 70 to pair up with this particular lens. Now with that, I'll have the 24, or the little bit wider focal length than this has, and they will partner up pretty good at each side, one shooting to the bride, one shooting to the groom. One takeaway I need you to all get from this particular video is that YouTubers are sent items, not me, but YouTubers are sent items to review, so they get to test the latest and the greatest. They've used some of the top-notch lenses and gears, and based on that, they're accustomed to certain features. Now, because something doesn't have a certain feature does not mean that it is not a good product. It might not be a good product for them, but it could be an exciting product, and a product that pushes your business forward. So if it is that there's something that you like, but a YouTuber says they don't like it, that doesn't mean that you should not like it either. Like I said at the start of the video, My reviews are for products that suit me and suit my system. I'm not telling you that you have to buy this lens. It is a good lens. I'm not telling you that you have to buy it. I'm just giving a review based on how this has served me in my work, and it's just a good lens. Make your decision of what works for you and not what a YouTuber says. This is OC from OC Imaging. Peace out.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't him. In gone. In just go so. In just go so.
Now, quick disclaimer. My gear reviews are not... Okay, very good reach at the long end and starts at f2, heavier than the other two options.